Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Andrew. I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free book review for Stormfront by Jim Butcher. So I think I'm just going to briefly touch on how I want to structure my reviews in this video and going forward. And that is firstly talking about the plot, the characters, the writing, the atmosphere, and then my enjoyment. So I'm going to always, in my reviews, I will always say my enjoyment is either high, medium, or low. And, you know, if you want to take that as a recommendation or not, I'm obviously going to say anything like medium or high is probably a good recommendation. So that is how I want to structure my reviews going forward. Will I talk about all of those things in order? Probably not. Hopefully I will get to enjoyment last and then say whether I do or do not recommend the book. But basically that's my plan going forward. That's how I want to structure my reviews, because I feel like if I categorize these things, I can get out my thoughts better. And you readers, some readers are more plot driven or character driven, or they care more about the writing, so that you can take all these factors and decide for yourself if it is the book for you. And I think that it's a good way to just kind of make a well-rounded review of said book. So as far as the plot, I would say it is a solid 8 to 9 out of 10. I think it is very fast-paced. I think it is super engaging. I think I really enjoyed it. You have the beginning of the book talking about, Harry Dresden, and he just kind of introduces himself to you, the reader, and he just says what he does, but he's listed in the yellow pages. You can call him up, you can ask him to hire, you can ask him to solve a mystery for you, and he just happens to be a wizard, which is just a really fun premise in and of itself. And I just really liked the way the mysteries unraveled, as I said. But so you start the book off, and he is a consultant for the police department in Chicago. And he goes and he meets this girl. I think her name was Molly, right? You go and meet Molly, and Molly is quite a character. And I really enjoyed meeting Molly, and just her dynamic with Harry was very interesting. And just throughout the whole book, Molly as a character, super interesting. There's this kind of dynamic between them where she doesn't really trust Harry, and Harry is constantly but I can't tell her because of this reason. And all those reasons, to me, those reasons all made sense, why he didn't want her to know certain things about him or what he was also looking into. It all, to me, it made sense. But at the same time, it leads to a lot of conflict in a way that was intriguing to read about. And she's trying to get him to help her solve a case, while he also has been given a phone call from this lady who is hey, my husband is missing. I think he's gotten involved in some sketchy things, and I think that they might have to do with you being a wizard. And I mean, in this book, wizards are not necessarily they're not super lighthearted. They're kind of more your wizards that are they're kind of dark. They're more, I don't want to say occulty, but I mean, they're not that dark, or they're not, it's not a vibe of a lighthearted. It's not a Sabrina the Teenage Witch kind of wizard. It's probably more along the lines of the new Sabrina. And so this lady thinks that her husband has gone missing, and he has involved himself in some some less than, some things that are not so great. He's involved himself in some shady practices, if you will. So he's working on the case for that. And there's just all these little scenes with all these and there's all kinds of paranormal, you got your vampires, you got your fairies. We haven't really discussed werewolves in this book yet, but just the things that happen in this book are my kind of reading experience. And all these discussions about magic and the way that magic works and how it's tied to people's emotion. To me, that was just another way to kind of set the atmosphere of the story. And I really enjoyed this book. It was high. My enjoyment level was very high. Now, I do want to point out a critique that I have seen from several female reviewers, that they didn't really appreciate the way women were described and discussed. I personally didn't really find anything about it to be there was no gratuitous triggering scenes. I don't think. He does say the word breast a lot, and he does describe women's bodies. I mean, it's a book written by a straight man. And I also read a review that said this book is cishet neckbeard wish fulfillment. And yes, it is. And I didn't mind that. I thought it was really fun. I just, like I said, my enjoyment level was definitely high in regards to this. And I think because it was just so fun. You have the mystery, you have the wizards. It was a 4 out of 5, because it wasn't anything, the writing in this book was not anything, I didn't have to look up words. I didn't find anything about the writing something I wanted to get a tattoo of, or anything that I wanted to frame in my home. I have definitely read books that have lines like that that just hit me, and I don't feel like this really had like a super heavy emotional impact to me. When I think of like writing, like I think of like, you know, my standard for writing and what I feel is beautiful writing is probably different from a lot of people. I think everyone's is different, but to me this was definitely not something that was like, I don't think it was like overwritten. I don't think, like, it was very fast paced. It was very like point A to point B on a constant basis, like, and you never really felt like you were missing anything. Like every time the character goes from one place to the other, like it was so engaging to read. Like I was always wanting to read this book. Like I never wanted to end this book. I never wanted to stop reading this book. Like I always wanted to read this book. And because it's just so pulpable, like it's just so pulpy, as they say, and I don't know. But so, I mean, as far as like the plot, loved it. The characters, I'm going to say, I mean, you really just meet Harry and Molly. That's really all I can say without kind of spoiling other things. But and I will say, all of the women that are written in this book, anytime a woman is written in this book, it is very much through the male gaze, and it's very much about how they look. It's very much about how they act, or how sexual or non-sexual they act. So some people might not want to read that, but it did not affect my enjoyment of the story, because I wasn't really reading it for like a romance or like any, like I was reading it for like the wizard detective aspect. And of course he wants to get with all these women, and he's talking about why he wants to go with these women. Like it didn't bother me. That's all I can say. So if that might bother someone else, I can understand. I know this is a very long series, and I don't mind that. Like I don't mind when someone is like, it's a 17-book series. Like I'm unaffected. And I know that's many other people do not feel that way. So you should know that if you hear of this book and you don't know anything about it, it's part of a 17-book series, or I think possibly, and I think he's going to continue writing in it. I plan to be caught up like as soon as possible, because there's nothing more exciting than waiting for the next book in a series that you've enjoyed. So that's just me. That's just me. If you don't want to read a 17-book series, then I probably wouldn't recommend this. I do think you could read it and be done. Like it could be a one and done book. Like there is definitely resolve by the end of the book. There's nothing really left super open-ended. It's very much that kind of, you could read it as a standalone or you could not. And I want to read more about Harry Dresden, the wizard detective who just solves crimes and does magic. Like it's literally like, I don't know, man. This is the kind of thing I want to read. Like when it comes to a book and I want to read for fun, like this is the book that I read for fun, pure entertainment. Like definitely not high quality literature, nothing you can like, I mean, you could study it, I guess, but it's really not anything super intellectual, you know what I mean? Like it's just a good ass time, and that is what I wanted when I picked it up. So again, like I said, I can't really go super into characters because I do feel like it is a little bit spoilery, but I really like Molly a lot. I can't really say, I feel like she was a well-written female character, but I'm not a female, so take that with a grain of salt. I don't feel like she was written in a way or described in a way where we only really discuss like how she looks. We do discuss how she looks, yes, but we also talk about like the way she acts and the way she handles like conflicts and the way that she goes about her day. Like it's not just about that. So definitely enjoyed this book. Definitely going to continue the series for sure. Will I ever be caught up? I don't know, but I'm going to try. And I listened to the whole thing with James Marsters, who is Spike from Buffy. So I mean, like he is like, if you like Buffy, you should probably read this. Like I'm just saying, you should probably read this. So I think that is all my thoughts on this one. Feel free to let me know if you've read it or you plan to read it or don't plan to read it. I would love to hear it. Leave me a comment down below. I will also leave my Instagram, Goodreads, and Twitter all in the description. If you would like to follow me, I would appreciate it. Thanks. Have a good day. Bye.